So it's Easter weekend. I go to my sister's house for Easter, and I'm just bawling because I can't feed my baby.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing else for her. She won't take the formula, or she throws it up. And we had our Yeti cooler with us, and I thought, God, if I could just get a Yeti cooler full of milk, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I would be over the moon.
Yeah.
And we go to her house, and she gives us 2 Yeti coolers of milk.
Wow.
And it was just this, testament of, I asked the Lord for something specific, and he doubled it.
Welcome to the Breastfeeding Diaries, where we share real stories from moms who have overcome challenges to nurse their babies. Today, I'm joined by my friend, Casie Britt. She is a mom of 2 little girls, a former teacher, and now we actually work at the same company, and she does software support for funeral homes. We connected in the pump room at work, and after I heard her story, I shared it with a few friends who were struggling with breastfeeding, and it was so encouraging to them that I knew I had to share it with others. That's pretty much where the inspiration for the podcast came from. Casie faced an extreme undersupply, but through determination, she was still able to continue pumping. She provided milk for her baby until almost 12 months. And that is just such an encouraging story. And I think the way that she saw providing milk for her baby and thinking outside the box in whether it has to be donor milk, formula, pumping, breastfeeding all the way until 12 months is possible. I think a lot of moms stop when they are not able to provide enough. But Casie did not let that stop her, and she still was determined to give her baby her milk. And I think when you hear her why, it might encourage you as well. So let's jump into her story today. You have 2 girls. Tell me their names, their ages, what they're up to now.
Yeah. So I have Maylee. She is 6. And then I have Banks, who's 1.
Yeah.
They are 5 years and 3 days apart. Okay. So that's fun. But yeah, Maylee's in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Banks goes to daycare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're the best. They love each other so much.
Yeah.
It's so sweet. And I hope it stays like that forever.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. I feel like that age gap is hopefully good for the sibling rivalry.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Maylee's like a little mother hen.
Yeah. There you go.
She's a really good big sister.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit to your experience with breastfeeding, just growing up. Like, did your moms breastfeed, your aunts, your cousins? What was that like?
Right. So I wasn't around very many babies growing up. I have a 10-year age gap with my sister, and I don't remember my little sister. I do know that my mom, she was actually in residency when my little sister and I were born.
Like to be a doctor?
Yes.
Okay.
And so she got the weekend off when I was born. I was back at work the next, Monday.
Wow.
And I think she nursed me for a couple weeks, but then just couldn't and had zero support.
Yeah.
For that. It was actually pressure to just quit.
Wow.
Instead. And then when my little sister was born, she was an emergency C-section, and she got 2 weeks. Even though as a doctor, they would tell their patient
crazy.
6 weeks. She got 2 weeks.
That's so crazy.
So yeah, she did nurse us a little bit, just her best. And then she just couldn't anymore because she had absolutely no support and was being pressured to just give up.
Yeah.
And then, I just wasn't around a lot of babies. So I grew up, Southern Baptist, our bodies are gross. Breasts are gross.
Yep.
Ew. And they're a temptation item. And it wasn't until I became a mother that that mindset shift happened.
I get that Southern Baptist, just where you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of how, more so with my in-laws, when I kind of came around and was like, okay, I'm just going to feed the baby, and just pulling up my shirt in front of, father-in-law, grandpa-in-law, they were kind of like, what?
Yeah.
So, So tell me about your first birth experience with Maylee.
Yeah. So she was big. She was 9 pounds, 6 ounces.
Wow.
And I actually ended up having an emergency C-section with her.
Did you labor? Like, was that your
I
plan or?
Yeah, so I was induced. Oh, I was a week late,
Oh, okay.
or
So she's
5 days late, actually. And they
big,
said,
but late. Yeah.
yes. And they were like, she's getting so big, we need to get her
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So I was induced. I wasn't progressing.
Mm.
And then I developed a fever and
Oh,
her
gosh.
heart rate was going up and down. So they were like, we're just like, we need to get her out
Yeah.
now. So I didn't realize how scary that was. I kind of just was like, just surviving in survival mode. And it wasn't until I had my second baby and it was a planned C-section that I realized like how much trauma I had from that experience.
Yeah.
So I had her. Thankfully, my husband and I had gone to like the birthing classes. So I kind of knew what a C-section was. I knew that after I would be wheeled to a recovery room and I would be encouraged to nurse. And I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I still remember like holding my little baby and the nurse was like, okay, so go like this. And she helped me and I just like put her on and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. And it was so cool.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't make a lot of milk. My milk didn't come in for a few days, as that happens. And so I did need help like with formula in the hospital. And I did feel like they were encouraging about that. They were like, it's okay. Like, you're stressed, you're upset. Let's help her a little bit. Let's do a little bit of formula. And then my milk came in and I was able to make her what she needed.
And were you working at the time? Like, did you go back to work after maternity leave?
Yes. Yeah. So I was a teacher then. Yeah. And so I really enjoyed breastfeeding and I wanted to keep doing it. So I pumped in the counselor's office at school. That's where I could do it. So someone would step in my classroom and I would go to the counselor's office and I would pump. And I think I did it 2 or 3 times a day. And I think I used my lunch break and did it as well.
Yeah.
But then, toward the end of the year, we have STAR test here in Texas. And it's very stressful. And I completely dried up.
Wow.
So I made it 6 months. 6 months with my first daughter. And I did try like power pumping. It's not what that's called.
Yep.
I tried that in the summer because I was like, okay, I won't be working. I'm just going to power pump.
Yeah.
And I did it for like 2 days and it was so miserable that I just said, I'm hurting myself more, like mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
So I just gave myself permission to stop.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And were you making enough at that point or was it like a certain percentage was formula that whole 6 months?
Yeah. So I made enough for her until I went back to work.
Yep.
Because I made just enough, I would say.
Yeah.
And then when I went back to work, I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
Like, your supply drops so much when you're not around your baby and you're not looking at them and you're pumping instead of nursing. So all of those factors, it dropped. And I think anxiety too. And so I had to supplement a lot. So toward the end of that 6 months, I was making like an ounce a day.
Wow.
Like I was pumping 3 times a day.
And making 1 ounce.
Getting an ounce.
Yeah.
But I was like, but it's good for her.
Yeah.
It's like medicine. It's so good. Even 1 ounce is good. But it really just got to a point where I was so defeated and broken down that I just had to stop.
Yeah. And how did your husband feel through all of this? Like, was he supportive? What was his attitude?
Yeah. He's super supportive of everything. I mean, if I had wanted to start with formula, he would have been fine. But I felt really strongly that I wanted to nurse and I wanted to pump. And he was as much of a partner as he possibly could have been. We hit a point where it's exhausting because you are the food source.
Yes.
And the comfort source. And so it did get to a point where I was like, okay, can we trade at bedtime where like you're feeding her and I'm pumping? So I still wasn't getting a break.
Yeah.
But it was still like, I can sit here and read a book or watch a show and pump and you can feed her either one of my milk bottles or formula bottles. So yeah, he's the best.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then you said, you still had in your head, this milk is good for her, this is medicine. What were the voices or things that were telling you that? Was it social media or a doctor or friends that were around you, or just something you knew deep down inside? Like what was
Yeah.
that research or that voice? And I guess that also kind of brings me another question of like, what kind of person are you? Are you the researching mom?
Yeah.
Or are you kind of the like, oh, let's go with the flow mom?
Yeah. I think I'm a mix of both. I definitely am the type, like, we went to classes before
Yeah.
we had her, and they talked about breastfeeding versus formula at that time, because it was 2018, social media. So, like, I would see a lot of Facebook and Instagram about just, like, all the good things that are in breast milk that you can't possibly put into formula.
Right.
Like, my body makes milk for my baby specifically. And I think, and then, yeah, I had friends that were also nursing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my older friends, though, were the formula generation.
Yeah.
And so it's not that they were not supported, but they were just like, oh, yeah, well, I didn't do that. I did formula.
Yeah.
So they just didn't have any input. But it definitely got to a point, though, where I was putting way too much pressure on myself. And so to be a better mom, and just a better overall me, I had to stop.
And you had some support, I guess, with the teachers, right? Was anyone kind of judgmental about like, oh, I have to cover Casey's class? Or were they pretty much like, oh, of course, you need to pump?
Yeah, no, I had one person, which made it great, because then for the kids, it was always the same person.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, she was awesome. And
that's
yeah, I would definitely say I felt supported. It was hard, just because as a teacher, because there's other humans involved.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to come to a good stopping point, but
yeah,
we made it through. It was good.
So flash forward. So y'all waited a little bit before having your next baby. And I guess, was that pregnancy like planned? Was it a surprise? Was it like, okay, let's do it. Let's have another baby. What did that look like?
Yeah, we were ready
to
have another baby. And so the Lord blessed us with another baby. And we felt like going from 1 to 2 was actually easier than 0 to 2. I think partly because our daughter was 5.
Yeah.
So she could understand things. She didn't like run over and smack her upside the head like you see toddlers. Like that never happened. But yeah, I knew I wanted to nurse. I really wanted to make it a year. And I had a planned C-section that time.
Okay. So less dramatic.
So much less. I went in and it was so great.
Yeah.
Like, it was still surgery.
Yeah.
It was still very painful, and there was a recovery. But honestly, like, talking to you about it now, I wonder if that's why my supply was better, is because I wasn't as like overwhelmed and like terrified.
Yeah.
Because my milk came in so much better.
Yeah.
I did need a little bit of help in the hospital still. I tried pumping in the hospital, and it was like literally a drop.
Oh, yeah.
Came out.
Yeah.
And the nurse was so sweet. I was like, nothing came out. And she was like, yes, it did. There's a drop.
Yeah.
And she's like, think about how tiny her tummy is. And so she used a little syringe and syringed it out and gave it to her.
Yeah. Yeah. They did that for me
that nurse.
when I had my C-section with my first and he was in the NICU. I pumped every 3 hours for the first 24 hours and didn't see anything.
Oh.
And she would take the Q-tip or the swab or whatever and like run it through and be like, we maybe got a drop. And then after that first 24 hours, I got like 1 drop. Wow. And then each pump, I got one drop, 2 drops. And then it was at 48 hours that I got, I think it was the first like 5 milliliters.
Wow.
And that was when I was like, okay, I can do it.
I can do it. Yeah.
So yes, I think there's probably some other moms who are listening who have been through that, where it's like, it's just a drop and you're like, is anything coming out? But you said she was also nursing. So could you hear her like swallowing and everything? Like you kind of knew something was coming out, even though the pumping was only a drop?
Yes, but she was fussy, and I could tell it was from hunger. And so we didn't have to supplement as much as we did with my first, though. And then when my milk came in, I had so much
Yeah.
like I was engorged.
Yeah.
And that like never happened with my first.
Yeah.
I even got mastitis.
Oh, wow.
Because I was
How
so
early on?
engorged.
Like the first week?
I think she was 2 weeks old.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And that was the first time I've cried as an adult, like from pain, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in so much
Oh my
pain.
gosh.
And my husband had gone back to work, so I was alone.
Yeah.
And I remember holding her and thinking, the only thing that's going to make it better is if she nurses, but that's going to hurt. So, and I just put her on and just like sobbed.
Wow.
And then it did. It got a little better after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So did you take antibiotics and
Yes.
get past it?
Thankfully, yes. I was able to call my doctor and they got me on antibiotics quickly.
Wow.
But
And did you see lactation at all? Like a lactation?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, both times. Both times learned a lot.
Mhm.
It was really helpful, like, using pillows and sit up straight, even like you want to like hunch. Yeah. I feel like my spine is permanently curved.
Yes.
Because I just, in my head, I'm like, if I lean over, gravity is going to pull it.
Yes.
Pull the milk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. And I did feel like it was helpful.
Mhm.
I probably could have gone once a week for 6 months.
Yeah.
Like,
So
but
helpful. So did they, because what I'm kind of thinking, I'm not an expert here, but oftentimes with mastitis, there is some sort of removal issue where the baby's
Mhm.
not able to latch quite well,
Yeah.
just because they're latching on, but they're maybe not getting all of it. And so if you start getting that engorgement, and then it can lead to
Yeah.
the swelling and inflammation and everything. So, but as far as you knew, her latch was good. Like they never said
Yeah.
like, oh, her lips need to be or anything
They
like that.
They did. And I would say I just wasn't perfect at making sure it's hard great every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't have pain
Okay.
either.
Yeah. Which is
So
another
yes.
sign. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not having pain.
Mhm.
So I think it's right.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if I had gone to the lactation consultant
Mhm.
when I got mastitis.
Yeah.
Because when you said that just now, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, there's other
Yeah.
factors too with mastitis, and especially early on, it can be common.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I thought of. But
Yeah.
so as time went on, okay, so 2 weeks, you get past the mastitis thing. And then at our company, I think we get like 8 weeks. So did you get like the 8-week maternity leave and then you went back to work?
I did 12.
Oh, you did 12. Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Okay.
I take the full
Yeah.
amount of time with my babies that I can.
Yeah.
And I encourage other people to do the same.
Yeah.
They can.
So by 12 weeks, your baby was like, how was she doing? And how did you feel as you went back to work?
Yeah. So it was great. I mean, I was making enough for her. I started pumping like extra the week before and like practicing
Yeah.
pumping. I probably should have started a little sooner than that. Because I experienced the same thing. I go back to work. I was so sad to leave her.
Yeah.
I like I tell people the first maternity leave, I didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because by the end, I was ready to go back to work.
Same.
And like feel normal
Yeah.
again. But then with this one, I was like, oh my gosh, all I have to do is be a mom. Like clean the house, and which is a lot. It's a lot, but I wasn't putting a lot of pressure on myself, and I was just enjoying being with her and then just doing the bare minimum. Like
Yeah.
I'm cooking, I'm tidying. Like
Yeah.
we're not doing anything crazy over here.
Yeah.
We're just, doing the bare minimum to enjoy that time with her. And then, yeah, you throw in a 40-hour job on
Yeah.
top of that.
Yeah.
And I got pumping breaks.
Yeah.
And I pumped over my lunch, but my supply started to really go down.
Mhm.
By Easter of last year, she just wasn't gaining a lot of weight. I knew I wasn't pumping enough for her, and she would be hungry.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't drink formula like my older one did.
Okay. So you tried to offer her a bottle and yeah.
She wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I was worried because she wasn't gaining. Like she was, but just barely. And I could
Yeah.
tell she was hungry. She wasn't like chunky baby like my first one was.
Yeah.
And yeah, she wouldn't take the formula. So it's Easter weekend. I go to my sister's house for Easter. My husband was actually shooting a wedding that weekend. And I'm just bawling because I can't feed my baby.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing else for her. She won't take the formula or she throws it up. And my sister mentioned that her sister-in-law, who was also there, donates her milk.
Yeah.
And she's like, you should ask her
Yeah.
if she could give you some. It felt really awkward and embarrassing.
Yeah.
But I was like, my baby's hungry.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever I got to do.
Yeah.
And so I asked her and she was like, oh my gosh, yes, come by my house later. We'll give you some milk. And I was like, oh my God. Like I was like, God, thank you so much. And we had our Yeti cooler with us. And I thought, God, if I could just get a Yeti cooler full of milk, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I would be over the moon.
Yeah.
And we go to her house and she gives us 2 Yeti coolers.
Wow.
Of milk.
Wow.
And it was just this like testament of like, I asked the Lord for something specific and he doubled it.
Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, it was incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And at this point, she wasn't old enough for solids yet.
Right. Yeah.
So this
So
was it.
Yes.
Yeah. That was all you could.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
So, okay. So then what happened after that? So you got the coolers of milk. How long did that last?
Yeah. I think it lasted a couple months and I thought, oh, I wonder if I could get more milk from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going back. They live in Austin,
Okay.
My sister and her sister-in-law. I was going back for my birthday and I was like, I wonder if she would give me some milk.
Yeah.
And so I texted her.
Yeah.
And she was like, yes, absolutely. So this woman not only feeds her own baby, who, by the way, is huge and healthy and thriving, she also feeds another woman's baby completely and supplemented for me.
Wow.
Yes. So she...
Major oversupply.
Yes. So she donates to this Facebook group. It's called Human Milk for Human Babies.
Okay.
It's a weird name, but it's fine because it helps
There's
people
other
get
types
milk.
of milk.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's funny.
It's just a very clear name, I guess, of what it is. Human Milk for Human Babies.
Yep.
And so, yeah, she told me about it. I joined it, but she honestly helped me and gave me milk for my baby. So I hit the 6-month mark that I dried up at with my older daughter, and I wasn't drying up.
Yeah.
I was still making a couple bottles a day.
Okay.
At that point. So not quite enough. I was supplementing like 1 or 2 bottles a day.
Yeah.
So she would give me a couple Yeti coolers full of milk.
And you just make
And it
that
would last.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And your baby didn't have any issues with that milk. Like she didn't spit that up or have any.
No. The very first bottle, at first she wouldn't take it. And I went downstairs and I'm bawling, and my big sister, she's 10 years older than me. I call her my sister mom. She was like, it's probably because it's you. Yeah. Let me try. So, because my husband wasn't there. Remember, he was shooting a wedding. So obviously he would have done it. Well, that's not well. He wasn't there. So she gave her the milk.
Yeah.
And she did drink it from my sister. She just wouldn't take it from me at first. But then she started to. I think it became more normal.
Yeah.
Because their diet is really different. She's Asian.
Okay.
So they eat very different foods. And I wondered if it just tasted different or probably didn't smell like me. Mm-hmm. So there was a little bit of a learning curve there, but then it was just normal for her. Yeah. And she drank it just fine.
And how do you feel like as a believer, as a Christian? I mean, obviously you had that moment where God provided, but like, how did you feel about like, okay, is it me and what I'm giving my baby, or like, is God just going to provide something else?
Yeah.
And how to put all of that work into pumping those ounces. Yeah.
Yeah. So I go to counseling, thankfully. I've
Mhm.
been going ever since my firstborn was young.
Yeah.
My family actually, they were like, we're worried about you. And so I went and
Yeah.
I had postpartum anxiety, obviously, from just the
A lot.
traumatic birth.
Yeah.
But then also realized that I have anxiety
Yeah.
just in general.
Yeah.
And so I went to counseling a lot after having my second one. And she was like, who makes your milk?
Yeah.
Is it you? Because if it was you, you would be making enough. Like, if it was up to you,
Yeah.
you would be making more. And so that was really like, you're right. I can't control it. I can eat all the granola and the protein
Yeah.
and rest, and I can still not make enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that weekend, that Easter weekend, when I had all that milk given to me, I just remember praying like, God, I have to feed my baby. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to help me? And it was a complete answered prayer from
Yeah.
the Lord. That it wasn't all on me.
Yeah.
And I still use that phrasing, and I shouldn't. I'll say when you're a nursing mom, it's all on you.
Yeah.
But it's really not.
Yeah.
It's really not all on you.
Yeah. Yeah. And nowadays, like, we have formula.
Mhm.
We don't live in, the 1800s where we
Yeah.
have pumping too. Like,
Right.
So even back then, I think about this woman who had the amazing oversupply.
Yeah.
Like, 100 years ago, maybe she was the wet nurse and feeding multiple babies, and there may have been moms that were able to feed their baby, but like God provides all of those people along the way.
Yeah.
So I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. By the end of my breastfeeding journey, I had multiple people that were offering me milk,
Yeah.
giving me milk.
Yeah.
Because I just made less and less.
And so, like, at what point after that? So your baby has plenty to eat. It's coming from these other moms. Like, did you hit a point where you're like, oh, I could just stop? Or like, how many times when you were at work was it like, I could just stop, I could just skip this pump? And what helped you get through those?
Yeah. I really enjoyed nursing. I didn't love pumping. I don't think anyone does, but I still had that thought in my head of like, this is medicine for her.
Yeah.
And this is the best thing for her, even better than someone else's donated milk, even though that's still milk. That's for their baby, And so I'm giving her the very best thing I can give her. And so I really wanted to make it to a year, and I did. Yes. So that was amazing. We also discovered she has a milk allergy.
Okay.
So when
Maybe that's why the formula wasn't
exactly
agreeing with her.
Yes, that's why she was throwing it all up. So she's not lactose intolerant. She has a milk allergy. So
Okay.
she'll get a rash, she'll throw up. So yeah, formula was never going to work for her. We had to have something else. And so that was another reason that I was like, my milk could be healing her allergy. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah.
So I just that like kept me going of like, maybe the Lord's using this to heal her allergy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, one of my friend who's a functional nutritionist, she says, when you're breastfeeding, your immune system is your baby's immune system. So,
right.
If you have an intolerance or a slight sensitivity, that could be reflecting on them, or if you're able to kind of help them heal from them.
Yeah.
So what is your encouragement then to moms who are in that situation? Like, what's the best way to find support, and what's your encouragement?
Yeah. For low supply specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely human milk for human babies. It sounds really weird, but it's out there. I live in Texas, so they have like different regions in Texas. They have it in other states. Yeah. It's free.
Okay.
You're not meant to pay for it.
Right.
And people are really good about saying like smoke-free, pet-free.
Yeah.
If you're really particular about certain things, people will say that. And you can like partner with someone and be like, I want you to be my supplier.
Yeah.
That's what my sister's sister-in-law did. She
Right.
had one person that she like partnered with and she always gave to her. So she wasn't like coming back to the group
Every
and
time.
just,
Yeah.
getting different people.
Okay.
So that is huge. Also, like, I did talk to my supervisor about it, and I was like, my supply is low. I really need to be pumping longer. Can I have my computer with me
Yeah.
so that I can keep
Just work
working,
while you,
but pump, and they let me do that. So that was awesome, not like having to cut. Because if you're pumping for less, obviously you're getting less milk in that pumping session, but also overall your supply is going to go down.
Right.
So just like talking to your supervisors and like seeing how you can work things out
Yeah.
with them. Also, like partnering with my husband and asking like, can you put her to bed tonight and I'll just pump so that I can read or do, do
Relax.
something relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think,
praying for sure.
yes. I think you had mentioned that she also started biting, so then you couldn't nurse anymore too.
Oh, yes, I stopped.
So when did that happen?
She got teeth
Yep.
when she was like 6 or 7 months old. And I was like, nope, no. Because I didn't have to do that with my first baby.
Yep.
Because I dried up. And it still makes my skin crawl to think about that feeling. I just hated it.
Yeah.
And so I exclusively pumped
Okay.
after she was 6 or 7 months old.
Okay. Yeah.
Because,
I think that part really impressed me too, because I know at the beginning you were like, well, I want to nurse. And so that was like a motivation there. But then it's like that part got taken away and then you weren't even providing 100% of the bottles.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you were still motivated to continue on so when did you end up officially stopping? Was it 11 or 12 months?
I was about 11 and a half months.
Yes. So pretty much at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you actually even had to kind of like wean. It wasn't like it dried up. Like you kind of had to like tone down your pumps.
Yes.
And get to fully drying up.
I was surprised. Yeah. We were going to Disney World.
Yep.
And I didn't want to have to worry about pumping or like, well, we still had to bring milk, but I didn't want to have to worry about pumping.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave myself 2 weeks and that ended up not being enough time. So I ended up having like clogged ducts.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so I was like, wow, look at all this milk. Where has it been all this time?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it reminds me of the verse where Jesus says, give, and with what measure you give, you will receive, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Like it's just, you were still overflowing even at the end of like, you were trying to turn it down and God was like, oh, there's still more.
Yeah.
It's like the two Yeti coolers. It's like overflowing.
Yes. Double portion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, so that's good. That's encouraging.
Wow, what an incredible conversation with Casie Britt. I hope you found her story as encouraging and powerful as I did. When I started this podcast, I had no idea how many testimonies of faith would come out of each story, and I've just been blown away by how faithful God is, even in what we might feel is as small as breast milk and feeding our babies. If this story resonated with you, please share this with another mom who might need a reminder that they're not alone, and please subscribe so you don't miss more stories. The show is on Instagram at the Breastfeeding Diaries podcast, and you can also email breastfeedingdiaries@gmail.com. I'd love to connect with you. Thanks for listening to the Breastfeeding Diaries. I'll see you next time.